But many problems when it comes to productivity in HVAC, they don't always show up, in the P&L, right? They show up in how many jobs you're doing per day, by a technician or on average overall. And so in this video, I want to walk you through how to diagnose this, and it take maybe, 10 minutes or so. So bear with me. So what I'm going to create are two sort of ways to visualize this. One, just have average number of jobs per day in the data set, by person. And then we have by month as well. And then we have a sort of a heat map here that we can trigger by changing the cell here. So if you wanted to just see, how many people were doing so many jobs on average per day, so technician, and then month of January, February, March. So let's get started. What we need first is we need to get a list of the month here, and we can do that here. Just type in, maybe the word month, and then you can just type in January, and then just drag that down. Let me just center everything here. And then here we want average jobs, say, per day. Okay, so how we get that here in the data, and I created this data set, but it is realistic in the sense that you can build this from Surface Titan or, from whatever software you're using. If you're entering in, Mark Alvarez, you're probably going to have more rows. Like you would have 4 rows, for Mark for this day. But in the end, you should have something similar, or it should be, you should be able to recreate it from the CSV export that you're getting. And so if you can't seem to recreate it, just let me know and I can help you out. But anyways, so from here, we want to get the average of this column here based off of the month. So we would look the average of all these numbers, for the month of January, and then February, and then March, and then April. And in Excel, there is a formula called the average if s. So average, you can do average if or average if s. I always use average if s. It's for multiple criteria. Even though this is only one criteria, the month, you could use it for single criteria and for more. Like say in the next one we're going to do with that little red heat map, we're going to do technician and month. So that would be multiple criteria. But anyways, so all you have to do is the first argument is the average range, which is jobs completed, comma, and then here you can see criteria range, which is the month, comma, and then you can just, it's cell B3. And then you can just copy this and you can paste it down. You could also double click here. So that works. And so here we could have, like the minimum threshold and the maximum like we did here. And I'll just copy these 2 words over, or these 2 cells over. And what I'll do also is I'll wrap this text and then make it a little bit cleaner. Let's see. And then we can put this up here. Maybe stretch this out. Yeah, I don't think it's going to stretch out anymore. Okay, so if the minimum is, say, 4.0, then you can just do equals this. And the reason why I want to do equals that is that way if I change this, the chart, the line on the chart will automatically update. But then I'll just copy this and paste it again. Maybe change this to 4 and make this, 5.5. So now we want to create this chart here that has the upper and the lower. Oh, I keep clicking on the wrong so that has the upper and the lower bound. So super easy to do once you get the data. The hardest part with anything is just creating these insights. And then once you have them, then it's not hard to do the charts. So you can just highlight or you can click in anywhere and then go to insert and then you can do recommended. It's going to be the first one. And then okay. Maybe we could change it, call it, say, average jobs per day by month. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is just a couple more things. The first thing is I want to change this lower bound. I don't want it to be 0. I'm going to change it to 3. So I double click here, then I click on the 3 columns, and then I change this, the minimum, to 3. So we're good here, and then I'm going to fix these decimals so they're both to the tenths, to 1 decimal place. So change this to number, and then change this to 1. Okay, so finally, I want to make these lines thinner. I don't want them to be as thick as the blue line. So click on that. If you click the little paint bucket, then here we can just do 1. And then same thing here, click there. And if you don't want to type in the number 1, you can just click the down arrow until you get to 1. And then the last thing is if you want the values, click on the blue line. Well, click on the blue line, click the crosshair, and then you can click data labels. And then we'll take this down to one decimal. So again, number and then 1. Okay, we got that. So the next thing that we want is, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, but we want to create this here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get a unique list of the technician names. So in other words, in the data, we don't want, we don't want like names to be duplicated across. Like we don't want Chris Nolan to be there twice, right? So the way we do that is with the unique function. And so what the unique function is going to do is exactly what it sounds like. So we'll call, right here, we can do equals unique. And then if you click on the word technician name and then press Control Shift and the down arrow, it'll highlight the whole range in the column. And then you can press enter. And then we have this here. So we're good. You can press Control C to copy and then Control Shift V, V as in Victor, to paste. And what you're doing is you're removing the values. So now you can, like, because if you leave the values there, or you're removing the formula and pasting the values, sorry. So because if you leave the formula there, like if you add new data at the bottom, it will automatically update. But just for the purpose of this example, we'll paste the values. And then the next thing is we want the month across. So you could do the same as you did before. You could type in January, and then you could drag it across to December. But I'll show you a little trick, just in case it's not something that easy for you. You can copy this, Control C, and then right-click ST. So right-click ST, and then it does the same thing. Because sometimes it's not always January or February. Like if you wanted to redo this list of names, across the row, then you could do it that way instead of, having to drag them over. Okay, so now what we want to do is we just want to get the same formula as this. The difference is we're going to add one more criteria. So if you remember me saying the average FS, it's multiple criteria. That's what I was meaning. It's for one or more, as to where the average if is just one. That's why I always use the average if-s function. So it's the same thing as before. So average if-s. So the first argument is going to be sort of way up here. It's going to be the number of jobs completed, comma, and then the technician named, comma, and then where is the technician name? So it's right here, and then one more comma, and then month, and then now it's actually really is one more comma, and then month, and then enter. And you can see we have an average here for Mark Alvarez at 4 per day. And so now what we want to do is we want to be able to drag this across and it to work, but you'll see that it's not. And the reason is because everything is changing, meaning D is turning into E because you're dragging it over. C is turning into D. B29 is turning into C, or B19 is turning into C19. And so we don't want that to happen. You can see here, that's what's happening. So we need to tell Excel, like, okay, as I drag this over, I want Mark Alvarez to stay the same, but I want January to become February. But as I drag it down, I want Mark Alvarez to change to Chris Nolan, but I don't want January to change, essentially to the number 4 here. And so what you have to do is you have to do a mix of absolute and relative referencing. And so wherever you see the column name, so it's like D, D, C, C, B, B, just press the F4 key, put your mouse like in the middle and press the F4 key. Or if you want to manually type a $sign before each letter, you can do that. And that's going to lock the column. So as you drag it over, it's not going to change. And then for the column here where you see Mark Alvarez, we want to put a $sign before the letter. And then for the month, we want to put a $sign in between the letter and the number. And again, you can type the $sign, or you can cycle through with the F4 key. And then you can just copy, go all the way here, and then paste. If I know what I'm doing, this will work. And you can see that it is working. Okay, so now we want to have sort of the threshold here. And what we can do is just type in the number 5, and I'll show you a little trick on how to change it to where you can actually add words to it. But to do the formatting, just highlight the range here and then go to Home, Conditional Formatting, highlight cells less than 5, or just click on the cell, and then you're good. And now if you change this, everything automatically updates. But what we want is we want to add, jobs per day. And if you were to type in, say, 4.5 jobs per day, everything would highlight, because what's happening is this is not a number anymore. This is text. And so we don't want that. We want to tell Excel, like, hey, we just want to add a little bit to the end of this, but we still want it to be recognized as a number. So in cell B17, press Control and 1, the number 1, go to Custom, and then you can see it's already sort of done here, but you can just do 0.0 space and then your quotations and then jobs per day and then quotations again. And then now this is updating. So now you have a trigger, and it's to the 1 decimal, to the first decimal, the 10th decimal. And you can see eventually, everybody's pretty much under 6.5, right? If you do 6.8, it looks like that'll be everybody. 6.81, right? And that'll take care of everybody. But anyways, so that's how you can see, the average number of jobs per day by salesperson or by tech, and also by month. And so if you have any questions on this, if you want the file, all that good stuff, just shoot me an email. Questions@databoards. So shoot me an email there. If you're having trouble getting your data in a workable format, if you need some help with this, like getting the CSV export, massaging the data to get some kind of output like this, then just let me know. You can shoot me an email, or there's a link in the description to set up a time to chat. And also, if you want this file, there's a link in the description as well that you can download, or you can just shoot me an email. But anyways, that's all I got for this one, and I will see you in future videos.